As a GP, I sometimes find the most difficult advanced care planning conversations and decisions can be those for patients who have conditions which mean that they either can't participate fully in these decisions and discussions about their care, or those who may lose the ability to participate as their disease progresses. In this video, Sian Harrison talks about some of the complexities around advanced care planning for these patients and how we can approach these discussions and decisions with confidence.
Shared decision making is where a healthcare professional and patient come together to make a decision. So the professional brings with them all their skills, knowledge and experience about disease and prognosis, and the patient brings with them their experience of their life, what kind of risks they want to take and what their preferences are. But it's not just a highly consumer model of decision making. The healthcare professional only offers those options which are clinically indicated, and then the patient should have enough information from the professional to make that decision. So it's very important that we know that patients have capacity to make a healthcare decision, because mental capacity is all about consent, and we don't want to treat people or stop treatments if people aren't consenting to it. So a mental capacity assessment is all about making sure that your patient understands what the decision is. So it's not about using mini mental tests or cognitive tests. It's about checking whether your patient understands the benefits and burdens of a decision, whether they can retain that information, and whether they can communicate it to you. So understanding and recording it properly so that we can see what the basis is for your decision is really important. So what rights do families have in making medical decisions? Well, on a legal basis, they don't have many rights at all. Good practice is that we consult with families once we know that a person doesn't have capacity to make their own decision, and the family's role in that consultation as part of a best interest decision is that they represent the known views of their relatives, or they try and predict what they think their relative would have wanted in these particular circumstances. But people who say maybe that they are next of kin don't actually have any legal rights, so they can't consent to treatment or refuse treatment on behalf of their relative. For people who don't have relatives, we should involve an independent mental capacity advocate. Or if there is conflict in a family, it is useful as well to involve an independent mental capacity advocate, or IMCA as sometimes they're referred to. Lasting power of attorney for health and welfare decisions have a much greater legal authority to make decisions on behalf of a patient. The lasting power of attorney needs to be registered with the Office of Public Guardian. And if it's about life-sustaining treatment, that also needs to be documented as part of that authority. And it's good practice to see that document as well. But lasting power of attorney are also there to represent the known views of your patient, and the lasting power of attorney also needs to be bound by the same guidance that we all have, which is in the Mental Capacity Act, so they still have to act in the patient's best interests. So, for example, they can't make an unwise decision. And again, it's about that shared decision making. So lasting power of attorney can't demand treatments. They can only choose the treatments which are offered by healthcare professionals.
There's two main areas really that we need to think about when it comes to data sharing. The first one being the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR, and the sort of 6 key principles that go around that are always generally a good starting point for anything or any concerns when it comes to data sharing, especially with information of this type. And the other main one really is the Caldecott principles, and when you consider those, it's always important to remember that it's not just our responsibility to protect the data of the patient, but also to share it appropriately, because it's about us being able to use that information in a way that benefits the patient rather than, you know, keeping it to ourselves. A good starting point is always to look first for any sort of local resources that you've got, be the internal ones, so you might have an internal data protection officer or an information governance lead or a Caldecott guardian, and some people might have access to internal teams of people that also deal with these sorts of things as well. For people who haven't got access to those sorts of teams and individuals, you can always refer to your local CCG, because more than likely they've got teams that are also put together to deal with these sorts of things. And worst case scenario, you've always got the NHS Digital Service and the Information Commissioner's Office to refer to, who can field these sorts of questions that we have around data sharing, and have got quite a wide variety of resources and guidance about developing policies and procedures and what to do in circumstances where it comes to information sharing.